Hello, America. You are listening to, conveniently enough, the DMZ America podcast with me, Ted Rall, coming to you from the left.
And I'm Scott Stantis coming to you from the right. But I do want to say that if you happen to be in Liechtenstein or Djibouti, you're more than welcome to listen as well. All are welcome. Ted.
Not speaking only for himself. Okay. But we don't need any Belgians. Fuck you, Belgians.
Yeah, I think weren't you the one who told me once that Belgium, they're so cute. They think they're their own country.
That's right. Well, it's not a real country. There's some places that are not real countries, and that's one of them. Switzerland. Well, I mean, like there's no Belgian language. There's no Belgian culture. It was cobbled together.
Waffles, man, waffles.
Yeah, and terrible beer. People who say Belgian beer is good are just wrong. And yeah, it's not a real country. It's just, yeah, it's like, thanks for being our buffer. Nothing personal. We'll be passing through in 45 years.
Said the Germans every 45 years.
And the French. So anyway, yeah.
So Subway sandwiches, yum, yum.
You know, I went through a phase of eating Subway sandwiches. I would just go there and, it was like sort of like an everyday lunch kind of thing. I get obsessive where I eat the same thing for lunch.
Me too.
Every day.
That's weird. My dad did too.
I was going through when I was in my 20s through a Wendy's period, like Wendy's triple every day. Not something you should do when you're in your 50s. But I was doing that in my 20s. It was fine. And then, I went through this obsessive period with pizza where I was like up to two, like either pepperoni or mushroom slices every single day. And now I'm on shawarma, beef and lamb shawarma every day. Ooh, no, that's much better for you. My body doesn't lie. The dad bod is shrinking tremendously. And Subway advertises
the shawarma diet. Are you kidding?
The shawarma diet's good for you. I'm telling you, you should try it.
All right,
I don't know. You probably don't have shawarma in Birmingham.
Yeah, we do. We have
shawarma's from these people who are not, wait for it, white.
Yes, I understand. And we have very good. We actually have really good ethnic restaurants here. Birmingham is a surprise. Birmingham will shock you when you get here. I will show you the many sides of Birmingham cuisine.
All right, the many signs of the rhombus that is Birmingham. Birmingham, the rhombus of Central Alabama.
What was your sandwich at Subway?
God, I don't remember. It's been so long. It's been like 30 years.
Oh, geez.
Oh, I probably did some sort of salami and cheese concoction
on wheat just to make it healthy.
No, I wasn't like that. White bread all the way. But
God.
Anyway, so the Subway in Georgia, and on Route 21 I don't know how you pronounce this, Rincon. Is it Rincon? I'm going to assume.
Yeah, very good. Wow.
Rincon, Georgia, or Rincon if we were in French, but we're not. So in Rincon, Georgia, there's a sign. There's one of those movable letter signs. And obviously, like, you've seen the church ones where they try to make cute quotes about like scripture or people to come in. And, lots of people are kind of known for their cute signs. And anyway, so these guys, they put one up that says, "Our subs don't implode."
Now, obviously, this got, I'm assuming, a very negative response.
Yes. So some people, obviously this played itself out on the internet, and people, of course, on the internet were of multiple sides on this. But ultimately the naysayers won. They said it was disrespectful and in poor taste. In the end, Subway contacted its franchise and ordered them to take it down. They issued a statement saying, "We've made it clear that this kind of comment has no place in our business. The sign has since been removed." Scott,
God. In all things,
too much too soon, or
it's a little soon, but guess what? I mean, it's always too soon, right? I mean,
well, yeah. What if they put this up in 2026? People would have been like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" They would have forgotten. They will have forgotten the story.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always like, it's sort of like when you criticize a dead politician and it's like, shortly after they died, it's like, it's too soon. It's like, no, it's the only time that anyone's going to care to read it. I mean, if I do a deep dive on why, Gerald Ford was an asshole, who cares? But Jimmy Carter is going to die any day now. And when he does, that's the time to issue, a sort of a declamation of the stuff that you disapprove of.
Yeah. Well, there's those who would say, Ted, and you know who they are, that you don't speak ill of the dead, especially when they just die. But I think that's horse shit. And so do you. If someone who you did not detested dies, then I had a cartoon killed when I first started at the Birmingham News, and George Wallace died, I think, the first year I was working there. And I did a cartoon of him at the gate, the pearly gates, and St. Peter is dead, is black, and putting his hand up, blocking the door. And Wallace is going, uh-oh. I thought it was a really good cartoon.
That's hilarious.
My newspaper refused to run it.
On the grounds that St. Peter couldn't be black?
On the grounds that you don't speak ill of the dead. That's very harsh. There's people in the state who really liked and respected him. I go,
oh my
God.
He
was a monster. He was a fucking
his entire
monster.
Political look, even if he had, and I'm sure he must have had some redeeming value. Maybe he tipped generously, but he was, his campaign is fair. It's a really fair cartoon because his entire political career was based on racism. He was a race baiter. That's who he was.
Well, until later in life, after he got shot, he saw the light and was really sorry. Now, then you'd bring up the, segregation, his inaugural in 1963, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Mm-hmm. And you talk to people around here and say, oh, he didn't mean it. Dude, that's worse. I mean, Lester Maddox was an asshole. Lester Maddox was the former governor of Georgia with the axe handle that he would beat black people with if they came to his diner, came to his business. I mean, this was a genuine monster. But George Wallace, if he didn't mean it, that's even worse.
And he did mean it.
Well, he certainly ran. That's how he lost. How can I put this? Because it's a very he lost a guy named Patterson in 1958 and said, I will never be out. I'll abbreviate it. I'll never be out nigged again. Mm-hmm. And you can fill out the word. That's a quote. And he wasn't, he ran as far to the racists as he possibly, as hard as he could to the racist side as he could. So anyway, getting back to the too soon. There was, do you remember Neil Boers? He was a radio personality, a libertarian, came out of Atlanta. And he was doing a lot of fill-in work, was clearly ambitious, wanted his own show. The morning show guy died unexpectedly. Neil goes into the office that morning and says, I'd like that slot. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people said, well, that's a little too soon. He says, well, he's not going to be any more dead next week. And the slot needs to be filled. And I think the program director, to their credit, said, yeah, you know what? You're right. You and I face this stuff all the time. You are kind of the I don't know what you would call it. You often get way ahead of people and do things that are way too soon, that people would argue is way too soon. I mean, you're right. I mean, let's see, you're right. And 2027, and they do this same thing. No one's going to know what the hell that's about.
And here's what I have to say. Please, if you have really something absolutely disgusting to say about me, please say it 2 days after I've died. Do not say it before I've died. I don't want to hear it. You keep that to yourself, but you can call me anything you fucking want because I'll be gone. I'm not going to give two shits. I don't care. I mean, if I go down in a submarine and I get imploded upon, you can make fun of me. I don't care. And besides which, by the way, we need to dissect this joke a little bit before we move on. No one's making fun of the dead. No one's speaking ill of the dead.
No, you're right.
Speaking ill of the sub.
Yes. Yeah, they're talking about an inanimate object, but we still defend inanimate objects. I mean, this country apparently defends and loves its inanimate objects and will, guns, for instance, or,
right.
books or, dresses, apparently. We like to get pissed off and angry at inanimate objects. We love to do that.
So, I mean, this reminds me so much also, the story you were mentioning about Neil Boortz and the radio guy reminds me of our colleague, Fred Hyatt, the former editorial page editor of the Washington Post. He died a couple of years ago. And by the way, the Washington Post published 13 and counting obituaries. You can count them. I did. You can look at my column. I linked to all of them. 13. There's probably more now. I don't think Jesus got as many obituaries. And I knew Fred, and he was a nice guy, but sort of ish. But the point, by editorial page editor standards, he was an officer and a gentleman. He was a lovely sort. And the thing is that, but it was like they laid it on so thick, and they didn't want to replace him like forever. There was chaos at the Washington Post. It's like he would have been the first to say, cut the shit with the 13 obituaries of the same guy and replace this and fill this position tomorrow. What is, the way people act in certain situations like this, I just don't understand it.
Well, let me ask you this, Ted, because I mean, you and I we definitely approach our work very differently on this subject. Jimmy Carter is a great example. He's going to pass away soon. Mm-hmm. Is your cartoon going to be, I mean, you'd have no problem going harsh.
I already have my column written. I'm like the New York Times. I have like I'm on death watch here. So basically, look, everyone's going to talk about, they're all going to say the same thing. They're going to say he was a genial guy who came from behind in a surprise win, that he was a peanut farmer from Georgia.
He didn't come from behind, by the way. I want to just jump in and say that he led.
I know, but I mean, like from
during the primaries,
nobody knew who he was in 1974. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Came out of nowhere would be a better way to put it. You're right. Yeah. He definitely didn't come from behind. But the point is that how he was like the first, Democratic governor, Southern Democratic governor strategy, how he micromanaged, they're going to all say the same stuff about how he was kind of like micromanaging, not a great administrator as a president, but really redeemed himself in his post-presidency, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to say, look, this is the guy who caused 9/11 by financing the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. This is the guy who brought back draft registration and thus normalizing the idea that the country should be at permanent war. This is the guy who got rid of who caused the Reagan defense buildup, which was not Reagan's. It began with Jimmy Carter. Reagan continued it. Reagan even said that himself. He did a lot of bad, non-liberal, non-left, non-progressive, anti-left things that had a lot of really bad consequences, and so therefore those need to be noted. He was like kind of a cool guy in certain respects, but he was also an asshole, and those things need to be teased out. I mean, anybody who has a political career has highs and lows, and the lows should be taken note of. Otherwise, you are not doing right by history. Now, it would be the exact opposite if our culture were to only dwell on the negative. Then I would be the contrarian saying, let's look at the positive things that this person did. But that's not our culture.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this. I've been going over and over again, and I may actually write just a short, kind of like almost a cartoon essay, that Jimmy Carter broke my heart, because I was all in on the Ford campaign. There aren't a lot of people who say that then or now, but I was, 17-year-old kid. I was on the speakers bureau for the Wisconsin chapter of the Ford campaign. Attended a lot of debates on the UW campus. And I was really, really, I mean, my academic career, nothing to scream about to begin with, got considerably hampered because I, wasn't doing things like, showing up to work or to school rather. So I probably write something about how on election night, I was just dumbfounded that this guy could have won. I don't know what else to say, because as a president, I thought there were some good moments. There's some terrible moments. And it got more, interestingly, it got more terrible as times. But how do you say that as a commentator, as a cartoonist? But I'm with you. I'm not afraid to say it at the time, because he's not going to be any less dead a month from now.
No. And I think, and he was a big boy. I think he could have handled it. He knew how to roll with the punches. He also knew how to give as good as he got. So whatever. Anyway, I think we should leave it there and move on.
Okay.
All right. So keep it right
easy.
here at the DMZ America podcast.
Keep listening.
Not DMZ Cameroon, although Cameroonians are more than welcome to keep listening.
Yes, please do.
We
love your cookies.
I'm temporarily gobsmacked by that reference. Okay. Stay tight.